Your taste for alcohol is older than your species, not by a little, by millions of years, long before the first beer, before the first farm, before the first human being first farm, before the first human being ever walked the earth. Your ancestors were already drawn to alcohol. They craved it. Their bodies were built for it. And a single tiny mutation, 10 million years old, may be one of the reasons you exist at all. We didn't invent alcohol. Alcohol was here first, and in a strange way, it helped make us. This is when ancient humans really started drinking. Here's the story most people believe. Around 10,000 years ago, humans learned to farm. We grew grain. Grain got wet. Wild yeast turned it into something bubbly and mildly intoxicating. And we'd invented beer. From that happy accident, humanity's long love affair with alcohol began. It's a good story. It's also wrong, or at least it's only the very last chapter of a book that is millions of years long. Because the craving for alcohol didn't start with farming. It didn't start with humans at all. To find its real beginning, you have to go back, way back, to a time when your ancestors weren't people. They were apes, and they were living in the trees. Picture a forest 10 million years ago. Fruit hangs everywhere. The main food of our early ape ancestors. But ripe fruit doesn't stay perfect for long. It falls. It splits. And the instant it does, wild yeasts land on the sugar and begin to feast. That process has a name, fermentation. And fermentation produces a chemical, ethanol, alcohol. So every piece of overripe, fallen fruit carried a faint whiff of booze. And here's the clever part. That smell travels. Alcohol is light, and its scent drifts far through the trees. For a hungry animal, that faint, boozy smell became a signal, a beacon pointing straight to ripe, sugary, calorie-packed food. This is called the drunken monkey hypothesis. The idea that our fruit-eating ancestors evolved to be drawn to the smell and taste of alcohol, not because they wanted to get drunk, but because alcohol meant food. The buzz was just a side effect. The real prize was calories. And the animals who followed that scent and could actually eat the fermented fruit ate better than the ones who couldn't. For a long time, that was just a clever theory. Then scientists found the evidence, written directly into our DNA. In 2015, a team led by biologist Matthew Carrigan did something remarkable. They took the gene for an enzyme called IDH4, one of the very first things that touches alcohol when it enters your body, in your mouth, throat, and stomach. And they reconstructed how it had changed across 70 million years of primate evolution. What they found was stunning. For most of that time, our ancestors' version of this enzyme was almost useless against alcohol. They could barely break it down. Eat much fermented fruit, and they'd simply get sick. But then, right around 10 million years ago, a single tiny change, one letter of genetic code, rewrote that enzyme. And suddenly, it became 40 times better at breaking down alcohol. 40 times. From one mutation. And here's the part that gives me chills. That mutation appeared at almost exactly the moment our ancestors were climbing down from the trees and beginning to spend time on the forest floor, right where the fallen, fermenting fruit was piling up. We didn't learn to handle alcohol. We evolved to. Before we were human, before we walked upright, the taste was already in us. Think about what that means. An ape who could eat that fallen, fermented fruit without getting sick had access to a huge extra food supply the others couldn't touch. In a hungry world, that is an enormous advantage. So the mutation spread. It's still in you today. You share it with chimpanzees and gorillas, cousins who inherited it from the very same ancestor. And over millions of years, our brains did something fateful. They learned to link alcohol with reward, with pleasure. Because for our ancestors, alcohol reliably meant one thing: you just found something good to eat. But here's the twist that explains so much about the modern world. Our ancestors only ever met alcohol in tiny doses, around 1 or 2%, soaked into fruit, wrapped in fiber and nutrients. That is what we were built for: a faint buzz attached to a meal. Today, we've stripped all of that away. We've concentrated the alcohol far beyond anything found in nature and removed the food it used to come with. We took a 10 million year old craving for a little and handed it an endless supply of a lot. Our bodies never evolved for that. Almost every problem alcohol causes today begins right there in that mismatch. So, when did humans start making alcohol on purpose? Far earlier than anyone used to think. In a cave in Israel called Raqefet, archaeologists found the residue of beer brewed in stone mortars around 13,000 years ago by hunter gatherers before farming even existed. And it wasn't for casual drinking. The traces sit beside a burial ground. This was beer for ritual, for feasting, for the dead. And that leads to one of the strangest ideas in all of archaeology. For decades, scholars have argued over a single question: which came first, bread or beer? Because some now believe that the desire to brew alcohol for these great feasts may have been one of the reasons we bothered to grow grain in the first place. In other words, we may not have settled down and started farming just to eat. We may have done it, at least in part, to drink. And everywhere humans appear, alcohol appears beside them. In China, 9,000 years ago, people were already fermenting rice, honey, and fruit. It is one of the most universal human behaviors there is. And this is the truth hiding at the bottom of the glass. We like to think of alcohol as a modern vice, something we invented and struggle to control. But that's backwards. Alcohol isn't something humans made. In a very real way, alcohol helped make us. It shaped our enzymes. It rewired our brains to feel reward. It may have pulled us down out of the trees toward the fermenting fruit on the ground. It may even have helped coax us into building the first villages. Our relationship with it isn't 10,000 years old. It is 10 million. So the next time you feel that first warm flush from a drink, that soft, ancient pull, understand what it really is. It isn't new. It isn't modern. It is a signal 10 million years old. The ghost of an ape on a forest floor, following a faint scent to a piece of fallen fruit, and finding, for a moment, that the world felt a little brighter. We didn't discover alcohol. We were born reaching for it. And that reach is older than every story we have ever told. Older even than us.